Hi learners, myself Dr. Neeru Rathi, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, MD University, Rohtak. In this session, we will discuss standard error, confidence interval and significance of the mean. In education and psychology, we have to compute mean and several other representative values for studying the characteristics of a certain population. But it is neither feasible nor practicable to approach each and every element of the population. For example, if we wish to know about the average height of the Indian male of 25 years of age, then we have to catch hold of all the young men of 25 years of age, measure their heights and compute the average. This average will yield a true value of desired population mean. But to do so is not a simple task. It is quite impracticable as well as inessential to approach every Indian male of 25 years of age. The convenient as well as practical solution lies in estimating the population mean from the sample means. Here we may take a few representative samples of appropriate size from the randomly selected districts and states in India. Suppose that we have taken 100 such samples, then the mean of these samples may yield the desired average height of the whole population of the Indian male of 25 years of age. In an ideal situation, we expect any sample statistics to give a true estimate of the population statistics. The degree to which a sample mean represents its parameter is an indication of the significance of the computed sample mean. Therefore, in a situation in which we approach the element of a representative sample rather than the element of the entire population and compute the sample mean and other statistics for the estimation of related parameters, we have to make sure of the significance or trustworthiness of the computed sample statistics. In other words, we have to say how far we can rely on the computed mean or some other statistics to predict or estimate the value of related parameter or the true means. Now we will discuss the concept of standard error in computing the significant value of the mean. Assume that we have knowledge of the true mean. Also suppose that we have taken 100 representative samples from the population and computed their respective sample means. If we analyze the distribution of these sample means, we will come to know that a majority of these sample means are clustered around the population mean, and in the case of a large sample means when the number is more than 30, the distribution will be found normal. The mean of the sample will be a fairly good or a somewhat true estimate of the population mean. Some of these sample means will deviate from the population mean either on the positive or on the negative side, while most of them will show negligible small deviations. With the help of the diagram, we can see, suppose that this is the normal distribution. Here is the population mean. Here is population mean, and from this population we have taken 100 samples and we have computed the mean of those 100 samples. If we will draw all those means on this curve, then we will find that some of the mean will lie near the population mean or some may deviate, maybe M50 here, maybe M90 here, M80 maybe on the left hand side. Some of the means will lie near the population mean while some will deviate from the population mean. The measure of dispersion or deviation of these sample mean scores may also be calculated in the form of standard deviation. In an ideal case, a sample mean must represent the population mean, but on application, a sample mean is likely to differ from its parameter or true value. This difference is known as the possible error that may occur in estimating the true mean from a given sample mean. For example, the difference between M1 and this M, whether it is very slight difference or the difference between M and M90, this is the error. The curve representing the distribution of sample means possessing lesser or greater error of estimation for the population mean is called the curve of error, and the standard deviation of this distribution of sample means is known as the standard error of the mean. So this was about the standard error of the means. Now what are the confidence intervals? Because we need confidence intervals in further statistics or in research. As we discussed, a sample mean is employed to estimate the population mean. In the actual sense, it is very difficult to say categorically that a sample mean is or is not a trustworthy estimate of the population mean. All the sample means drawn from the same population deviate in one way or the other way from the population mean. Just like this, here we have taken 100 samples from this same population, but their mean will definitely deviate from the population mean, because all the samples are drawn from the same population, but their mean vary in one way or the other way. In case of the large samples, when n is more than 30 in a normal distribution. The standard error of the mean represents a measure by which the sample means deviate from the overall population mean. Now the question arises as by how much should a sample mean deviate from the population mean so that it may be taken as a trustworthy estimate of the population mean. यानी हमारा sample mean population mean से कितना deviate हो जाए कि हम उसको फिर भी trustworthy माने. The answer lies in the limits of the confidence intervals fixed on the basis of degree of confidence or trustworthiness required in a particular situation. Usually we make use of 0.95 or 0.05, we can say, as we have discussed in the normal probability curve, that approximately 95% area comes under the limitation of mean plus minus 1.96 sigma, and 99% area comes under the limits of mean plus minus 2.58 sigma. So usually we make use of 0.95 and 0.99 percentage of probability as the two known degrees of confidence for specifying the interval within which we may assert the existence of the population mean. In the case of normal distribution, we know from the table of normal curve that 95% cases lie within the limits mean plus minus 1.96 sigma, and 99% cases lie within the limits mean plus minus 2.58 sigma. Hence, from the normal distribution of the sample means, it may be safely concluded that there are 95 chances out of 100 for a sample mean to deviate from the population mean by plus minus 1.96 standard error of mean, and only 5 chances out of 100 that the population mean will deviate or will lie beyond the limits mean plus minus 1.96 standard error of mean. Similarly, if it may be generalized that there are 99 chances out of 100 for a sample mean to deviate from the population mean by plus minus 2.58 standard error of mean, and only 1 chance out of 100 that the population mean will lie beyond the limits mean plus minus 2.58 standard error of mean. The values in terms of scores of the limits mean plus minus 1.96 standard error of mean and mean plus minus 2.58 standard error of mean are called confidence limits, and the interval they contain is called the confidence interval for a known and a fixed degree or a level of confidence. So these were the confidence limits. Now the significance of mean for small samples. Small samples means when the number of students or the group is less than 30, it is called a small sample, and in case of small sample we use T distribution. Now what is a T distribution? We usually take a sample of 30 cases or more as a large sample and a sample of less than 30 as a small sample. We have seen that the means of large samples randomly drawn from the same population produce a normal distribution. However, when samples are less than 30 in size, the distribution doesn't take the shape of a normal curve. It is symmetrical but lactokurtic. In other words, it becomes more peaked in the middle and has relatively more area in its tails. Such a distribution is known as the t-distribution. It should be clearly understood that t-distribution is not a single curve but a whole family of curves, the shape of each being a function of sample size. As the size of the sample increases and includes about 30 cases, the t-distribution takes the shape of a normal curve. The nature of the t-distribution is also linked to the number of degrees of freedom. A different t-distribution exists for each number of degrees of freedom. As the number of degree of freedom increases, the t-distribution takes the shape of a normal curve. The concept of degree of freedom is widely used in dealing with small sample statistics. The symbol df is frequently used to represent the degrees of freedom to vary. Therefore, the degrees of freedom associated with a given sample are determined by the number of observations that are free to vary. The degrees of freedom are reduced through the constraints or restrictions imposed upon the observations or variables. As a general rule, 1 degree of freedom is lost for each constraint or restriction imposed. The number of degrees of freedom in any case is equal to the number of observations or variables minus number of constraint or restrictions. Now we will discuss the significance of difference between means. In the field of education and psychology, there are many occasions when we are more interested in knowing about the significance of difference between two sample means, independent, whether the samples are independent or correlated, drawn from the same or different populations, rather than merely knowing the significance of the computed sample means. Suppose that a teacher wants to test the relative effectiveness of two teaching methods. For this, he divides the class students into two random groups. One group is taught by him with method A and other group is taught by him with method B. After a few months, he administers an achievement test to both of these groups and computes the mean of respective achievement scores of the two groups. Say the mean of the group 1 is M1 and the mean of the group 2 is M2. The difference between these two means M1 minus M2 is then determined. Now the question arises as how significant this difference should be to help decide whether method A or B is better. In this situation, the problem is the determination of the significance of the difference between two computed means. One is bound to the question whether the difference, if any, between the two sample means is the result of sample fluctuations which have occurred incidentally or indicate some really valid differences which will help in drawing some useful interpretations. As earlier we discussed that in determining the significance of a sample mean, if we successfully draw random samples from a given population, compute their means and arrange these means into a frequency distribution, the result is a normal curve and t-distribution curve in the case of small sample means. The standard deviation of the distribution of these sample means, called the standard error of the mean, was taken as the yardstick for testing the significance of a given sample mean. If we have data related to differences between means of a number of samples, the sampling distribution of these differences between means will also look like a normal curve in large samples and t-distribution curve in the case of small sample means. The standard deviation of this distribution is called standard error of the differences between means, then may be taken as the yardstick against which we may safely test the obtained difference between any two sample means. The topic is complete now. Thank you very much.